Level 1. Worst. We find the LMGs that looked okay on paper but fell apart on the battlefield. The Italian Breda 30 and the Japanese Type 11. First, LMG of Level 1. Italian Breda 30. Weighing 23 pounds, the squad automatic weapon despite being heavy and fragile. Chambered for the 6.5mm Carcano cartridge and measuring 48 inches, it was slow firing at a rate of 500 RPM. It used a fixed 20-round magazine attached to the right side that required the gunner to hinge it forward and manually insert a 20-round brass stripper clip. If that thin metal magazine got dented or bent, the entire machine gun was rendered useless. It fired from a closed bolt, a design flaw that led to frequent cook-offs where the barrel became so hot the chambered ammunition would fire spontaneously. Even worse, it lacked primary extraction, so it used an internal oiler to help shells eject. In North Africa, that oil acted like a magnet for sand, creating a sludge that ground the internals to a halt. It's frequently cited by historians as the worst LMG of the war. These issues became so severe that Italian troops were documented abandoning the Breda 30 in favor of captured British and American arms. It is frequently cited by historians as the worst light machine gun of World War II. The second LMG of Level 1. They demanded high maintenance and lacked sustained firepower. Japanese Type 11. Measuring 43 inches and weighing 22 pounds, the Type 11 was chambered in 6.5mm Arisaka. It featured a quick-change barrel and a cyclic rate of 500 RPM, but its most defining characteristic was the top-mounted 30-round hopper feed system. Because this massive hopper was positioned on the left side of the receiver, the sights had to be offset to the right. To allow the gunner to align their eye with them, the buttstock was physically bent to the right, resulting in its famously warped, asymmetrical appearance. The Type 11's action was so violent, often tearing the heads off standard 6.5mm casings. Japan issued a specialized cartridge marked with a circled G on box, which defeated the logistical advantage of sharing ammo with the rifleman. The weapon featured an internal oiler that lubricated each round before chambering. This proved disastrous in the field. In the humid jungles of Southeast Asia and the dusty plains of China, the oil combined with grit to form a sticky sludge that fouled the action. Although relatively light and controllable under ideal conditions, these reliability flaws meant the Type 11 required constant, meticulous maintenance, severely limiting its effectiveness during prolonged combat. Level 1 LMGs are the result of poor engineering decisions, low manufacturing quality, or doctrinal confusion that were not merely outdated.
Level 2. Bad. At Level 2, we find the LMGs that could perform adequately in trained hands, yet lacked firepower or reliability expected from a true squad support weapon. Japanese Type 96 and French FM 24-29. First LMG at Level 2. The Japanese Type 96. It was chambered in 6.5mm Arisaka, this small caliber reduced stopping power. With a 30-round top-mounted curved box magazine, this allowed gravity to assist in feeding and kept the magazine out of the mud. Operating at a rate of fire 450 RPM, lightweight at 20.5 pounds, and measured 42.3 inches, its 25.9-inch barrel produced a muzzle velocity of 2,400 feet per second and featured a quick-change design. This allowed gunners to swap overheated barrels in seconds using a simple release lever. The Type 96 was issued with a 2.5x telescopic sight. The gun had very little recoil, it was terrifyingly accurate, allowing Japanese gunners to pick off Allied soldiers from distance. Featured a lug for a standard Arisaka bayonet. While it seems absurd to put a bayonet on a 20-pound machine gun, it reflected the Japanese military doctrine of all-in offensive spirit. The weapon was accurate, controllable, and mechanically simpler than its predecessor. One of the most iconic and successful Japanese weapons of the war. At Level 2, the French FM 24-29. The FM 24-29 was a compact, gas-operated LMG that emphasized precision over a high volume of fire. Weighing 20 pounds with a length of 43 inches, it was chambered for the 7.5mm French cartridge and fed from a top-mounted 25-round box magazine. Its limited magazine capacity, a quick-change barrel, and lack of man-stopping power hindered its offensive potential. It featured 2 triggers, one for semi-automatic fire and another for full automatic fire. Operating from an open bolt, it had a cyclic rate of 450 RPM and a muzzle velocity of 1,866 miles per hour. It featured robust mud protection suitable for infantry use. The FM-2429 excelled in the field for its ability to keep firing, even in the worst imaginable conditions. Described as being built like a tank, emphasized control over raw power. Its extreme stability and slow rate of fire made the weapon exceptionally easy to manage, ensuring that more rounds hit the target rather than being lost to recoil. When France fell in 1940, the Germans were so impressed with the gun that they pressed it into their own service, renaming it the LEMG 116. Level 2 weapons worked, but only just. They demanded discipline and careful use to compensate for their inherent limitations.
Level 3. Below average. At level 3, we find the LMGs that were rugged and dependable, though they started to show their age as the war evolved. Soviet DP-27 and Japanese Type 99. The first, LMG of level 3, Soviet DP-27. At 50 inches and 21 pounds, the DP-27 was designed with a dual focus, easy manufacturing and battlefield simplicity. A gas-operated system, chambered for 7.62mm R cartridge from top-mounted 47-round pan magazine, nicknamed the record player because you could actually watch the pan spin as it fed rounds into the chamber. Has a unique flap-locking, open-bolt flap-locking system. With a cyclic rate of 550 RPM and a muzzle velocity of 1,879 miles per hour, it provided reliable, steady fire out to 1,300 yards. The record player was a logistical nightmare. These magazines were heavy, awkward, and fragile. A single dent from the grit of the Eastern Front could stop the mechanism cold, turning the gun into a 20-pound paperweight. Heat was another enemy. Sustained fire would often cook the recoil spring, causing it to lose tension and jam the action. Despite these flaws, the DP-27's long-stroke gas system was a tank. It was designed to survive the mud and sub-zero snow that killed other guns, serving as the Soviets' rugged, mobile answer to the brutality of the front. Soviet soldiers used to joke that the weapon fired better if you threw a handful of sand into the action. It was simple, with only about 6 working parts in the firing mechanism, making it one of the most reliable LMGs of the war. The second, LMG at level 3, Japanese Type 99. The Type 99 used the 7.7mm rimless cartridge with a length of 47 inches. Weighing 23 pounds, weight helped it manage a faster rate of fire at 700 RPM. Muzzle velocity of 2,400 feet per second. What made the Type 99 truly unique was its precision. It was arguably the most accurate machine gun of the war. It was so accurate that Japanese gunners used it like a long-range sniper rifle. Allied troops in the Pacific learned to fear the chirp of the Type 99 because they knew the bullets were coming with precision, not just volume. It achieved the reliability needed for the harsh, humid conditions of jungle warfare. True to Japanese doctrine, it still featured a bayonet lug, making it one of the few machine guns in history designed to be carried into a bayonet charge. Even though it was cumbersome and still limited by its magazine capacity, the Type 99 remains one of the most effective and respected designs of the entire conflict. Level 3 LMGs. They were dependable workhorses, but no longer dominant. Level 4 Average. We find the LMGs that represent the baseline standard. Reliable, accurate, and effective within their intended roles. British Bren gun. First LMG at level 4. British Bren gun. This 22-pound gas-operated workhorse was chambered in the iconic .303 British round, and is instantly recognizable by its top-mounted 30-round curved magazine. This top-feed design used gravity to help feed those tricky rimmed cartridges reliably into the chamber. Measuring 46 inches and weighing 22 pounds. Operating at 500 RPM with a muzzle velocity of 2,440 feet per second. Famous for its exceptional accuracy and smooth recoil. It featured a quick-change barrel. A trained crew could swap out in under 10 seconds, and a unique 4-position gas regulator. The weapon became fouled with carbon or mud, essentially turning up the power to keep the action cycling. This capability, combined with an effective range of 600 yards, it was so well engineered that it's often called the Rolls-Royce of light machine guns. The Bren wasn't purely British. Its name is actually a mashup of Brno, the Czechoslovakian city where the design originated, and Enfield, the British factory that perfected it. Level 4. LMGs didn't overwhelm the enemy. They endured.
Level 5. Above average.
We find the LMGs with firepower and authority. Browning Automatic Rifle. First LMG at level 5. BAR. The BAR was middle ground, measuring at 48 inches, weighing 19 pounds. Too heavy to be a standard rifle, but too limited to be a true LMG. Its greatest strength was the punch, firing the massive 30-06 cartridge with a muzzle velocity of 1,901 miles per hour at roughly 2,800 feet per second. It could chew through trees, logs, and light cover that would easily stop a submachine gun round. Was fed by a tiny 20-round magazine. To keep the gunner from burning through all that ammo in seconds, the BAR featured 2 selectable fire rates, a slow 300 RPM and a fast 500 RPM. With an effective range of 600 yards, the design had some serious baggage. It lacked a quick-change barrel. If the gun got too hot, you simply had to stop and wait for it to cool down, or risk ruining the weapon. It also came with a clunky bipod attached to the very end of the muzzle, making the gun feel incredibly front-heavy and awkward. In the Pacific, Marines famously ripped those bipods off immediately, choosing to ditch the weight and carry the BAR as a high-powered, oversized assault rifle. The BAR served American squads across every theater. It wasn't perfect, but for an American squad pinned down in a hedgerow or a jungle, the BAR was the big brother they were always glad to have. Level 5 weapon hinted at what modern infantry firepower could become.
Level 6. Very good.
We find the LMG's doctrine-defining weapons. German MG-34. First LMG at level 6, the MG-34. Built for the 7.92mm Mauser, this recoil-operated rotating bolt weapon was a master of versatility, functioning as a LMG with a bipod and 50-round assault drum, or transforming into a medium machine gun mounted on a tripod with a telescopic sight. It weighed 27 pounds, measured 48 inches, and with a muzzle velocity of 2,789 feet per second. It featured a unique double crescent trigger. A top half fired semi-automatically, while pulling the bottom half unleashed full auto fire at a blistering 800 RPM. To handle the heat, the gunner swings the frame aside and slides into the back of the shroud. Every MG-34 was milled from solid blocks of high-quality steel with incredibly tight tolerances. While this resulted in exceptional accuracy, it also made it a nightmare to mass-produce and even harder to maintain. Those tight tolerances meant that a single grain of sand or a bit of frozen grit on the Eastern Front could seize the action, requiring constant maintenance to keep the weapon functional in the heat of battle. Level 6 LMG's weapon is arguably the most significant machine gun of the war, not just for its performance, but because it introduced a revolutionary concept to the world: the general-purpose machine gun.
Level 7. Best. The GOAT.
We find the LMG's revolutionary general-purpose machine gun concept and optimize it for the brutal, high-speed reality of total war. First LMG at level 7. German MG42. At the top of the list is the MG42, a weapon so legendary it rewrote the rules of infantry warfare. The MG42 was built for brutality of war. It swapped expensive machining for revolutionary stamped metal construction, making it cheaper, 75% faster to build, and arguably more reliable. With a 48-inch length, 26-pound weapon, the MG42 was a full auto-only beast that required an incredibly light touch just to squeeze off a single round. Chambered in 7.92mm Mauser and utilizing a roller-locked recoil-operated system, it provided unmatched suppression out to 1,000 meters. The extreme speed generated immense heat. To keep them from melting down, the barrel had to be changed every 250 rounds. Engineers solved this with a brilliant swing-out slot on the right side of the shroud, allowing an experienced crew to swap a red-hot barrel for a fresh one in under 5 seconds. But to the Allied soldiers who faced it, the technical specs didn't matter. The sound did. Firing 1,200 RPM at 25 RPS instead of a rhythmic pop, 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 the gun produced a continuous, terrifying roar described as tearing calico, or a giant zipper being pulled. This buzzsaw had such a devastating psychological impact that the US Army actually produced training films to desensitize soldiers, trying to convince them that the gun's bark was worse than its bite. Used on every front, the MG42 became the blueprint for post-war machine guns worldwide. Level 7 weapons didn't just win battles, became the blueprint for post-war machine guns worldwide. It remains the ultimate example of how industrial efficiency and raw firepower can change history. If you enjoyed this deep dive into 7 levels of World War II light machine guns, you're going to love our next video about 7 levels of every terrifying World War II SMG. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more.